Welcome to the sanctuary. I'm Kyle, and I'm here to tell you to never be afraid to step into the pleasure den of the absurd. Now, today we're going to be talking about 3 must-see documentaries, in my opinion, about Frank Zappa. Frank Zappa, to me, is a great American and a personal hero to me. And so in September of 2020, 2020, me and my oldest brother, who introduced me to Frank Zappa years ago in the 70s, when I was a little kid, we drove up to a drive-in in Poughkeepsie, New York, to see the, I don't know what you'd call it, world premiere, debut. It was the first time this film was going to be shown on the silver screen. And it was actually about 2 months before it was going to be released generally to the public. So it was a special event. My brother had contributed to the GoFundMe for this film. And it was directed by Alex Winter. And Alex Winter, you may know as the guy that teamed up with Keanu Reeves in all those Bill and Ted adventure movies. Yep, it was that guy. He had access and permission to Frank's lifelong recorded library, which was stored in a vault on the Zappa residence in California. And so because of that, he was able to make this documentary, which was more or less told in Frank's own words. However, there was little talking head clips of band members and his wife when she was still alive, his widow, and other people that knew Frank through the years. And it's a significant body of work. And it was finally released on Blu-ray. And this is it. It's just called Zappa. And I highly recommend this for anyone who is a hardcore fan, or even just, mildly intellectually curious about Frank Zappa, as well you should be. And it's really good. It's very well done. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes. And so we were sitting there, and it came up on the screen, and I don't want to give any spoilers away, but the beginning really was pretty amazing. And then, it cuts to Frank's early years, where you see this geeky, gorky, goony-looking kid, living his life in Southern California, and a remote town, and he's talking about his interests and how he got into music and all this stuff. And then it just ends with this guy being one of the most important figures in 20th century history. I mean, this guy, we're not just talking music. I mean, and this guy did it his way. I mean, and it was a hard fight all the way through. He took on Warner Brothers. He took on, the American government. And, he may have been personally selfish at times, but he had a big heart, and he, allowed people to be themselves and show themselves and feel free to open up. And and it's really good. It's to me, he's definitely one of, I would just say an important figure of the 21st century. I mean, his influence does loom large, and lately, over these last few years, I mean, he died in 93. So over these last almost 30 years, he's kind of like really getting his due. But I must say, when I was a young kid in the 1970s, Frank was popular. He, was not an outsider musician. People were very well aware and enjoyed him. I mean, he was on Saturday Night Live twice, once as host and musical guest, and he had, the best musicians, and some of them, most of them, went on to bigger and better things, and some of them are influential in their own right. And it's so this movie, really does a great job of showing you who he is, or rather who he was, and in every way that he could demonstrate his talents and abilities and be himself. And it's really good. It's really good. So then there's this documentary which came out, which is a great companion to the other film, because you will see some of the same interview footage in that one, maybe not the same parts, but from the same interviews. And that's all this is. It's called Eat That Question, which I know some of you hardcore Zappa fans know is the name of one of his songs. So anyway, tell me in the comments what album it's from. And so anyway, this is a real good, if you're really intellectually curious and, have a sort of philosophical mind, maybe a mind that's built for debating, well, watch this. Let me know what you think. This is all interview clips of Frank through the years, and it's a great narrative. Again, it goes through the years, and it's a good companion to the other one. And they don't make people like this anymore. Oh, you got these people, on social media or whatever, for some reason, somebody that shows their ass or, puts on makeup or something is somehow important. That this guy puts them to shame. These are the kind of people, they don't make these kind of guys anymore. And if they do, the things this guy was warning about in the 80s are happening right now. And I'll just leave it at that. You'll know it when you see it. Watch these and understand why we're in the state of society that we're in now. I'll just leave it at that. And here's the third one. I stumbled on this. I was on a website looking to, see what's available for sale. And I just typed in Zappa DVDs, and this came up. I never heard of it before. And it's a pretty cool documentary made by this Italian guy who documented his own, he tells the story of him and his dad, who was ill at the time, going to see Frank play in Italy in 1982. And Frank, I think it was the first time Frank was in Italy. I'm not quite sure about that, but he got to visit the hometown of where his dad's family came from. And he remarked, to the band members, he's like, talking about the living conditions of what he just witnessed. And he's like, you know, this is garbage strewn in the streets, and, you know, everybody's packed on top of each other, and he's like, you know, these mafia dons that, you know, run the world, you know, come from these types of places. And so anyway, so it's about this guy's story, personal trek to go see Frank, and his personal affection for Frank's music. And so this concert in Palermo, there was a riot going on. It was held, in a soccer stadium, and I don't know what went on, but the police are shooting tear gas into the crowd. It's affecting the band on stage. You see, you know, people wiping the tears coming out of their eyes. So eventually they gotta, like, you know, Frank's telling them to stop. What's going on? You know, you hear the tear gas being shot out, and you know, there's this thing going on, and they scramble down to the basement. They're wearing, you know, bulletproof vests, and Frank's bodyguard is telling him, you know, what's going on, and so then later on, years later, this town celebrates Frank, and Frank's widow goes down, Gail, and Dweezil, and Diva, and Moon brings her daughter, and they have a performance of Frank's music. It's very emotional, and a really good ending to this film. And when Zappa came to Sicily, it's an interesting little thing. You get to see, the cool thing about it is you get to see some of the live performance. Now, Frank had a guy called Thomas Nordig that carried around a video camera, and Frank let him roam around the stage for this tour, for I think a few tours. And he just popped the fisheye lens on the camera so he wouldn't have to focus, and he captured all these concerts on videotape. And I know the Vaultmeister has said that Gail had wanted those released as a series called the Nordig Tapes, and it would be great to see some of this stuff. People that contributed to the Alex Winter Zappa movie, as, you know, a reward for chipping in a certain amount, you would get these perks, and one of them, you know, was a Thomas Nordig filmed song where everybody in the band gets a solo. I think you can see it on YouTube. I think it was Redunzel, and that was pretty cool. And so yeah, so if you're interested to see movies about Zappa, I would recommend any one of these. I would definitely go with these two that complement each other well. And so with that, I thank you for watching. You're always welcome here in the sanctuary. You know, as the world burns, this is where we come and celebrate life and everything it has to offer. And so with that, never be afraid to step into the pleasure den of the absurd.